It's time for another Junie B adventure. Junie B. Jones, aloha! Ha ha. Oh my goodness, this sounds like it might be the perfect book for summertime. What kind of adventures or disasters do you think Junie B is going to get herself into? Let's find out. All these pages to get to before we can start reading. Chapter 1, Flinging. Friday. My favorite day of the week. Dear first grade journal, I've got big news. Last night, Daddy told me, happy surprise, and it's called my family is going on an exciting vacation. And it's going to be the time of our lives, I tell you. I'm trying to save my news for show and tell, but I don't think I can wait that long. That is how come I am going to ask my teacher to start that activity right exactly now. Please stand by. I stopped writing and raised my hands. Mr. Scary was not looking at me. When teachers don't look at you, you have to stand up and shout, or else they're supposed to not notice you. I stood up and shouted, Mr. S, how long until we have show and tell, do you think? Mr. Scary wrinkled his eyebrows at me. I'm not supposed to call him Mr. S, I believe. Please sit down, Junie B, he said. It's still journal time, and journal time is quiet time. I nodded. Yeah, I know. Only I'd actually like to wrap things up and get started with show and tell now. Mr. Scary sucked in his cheeks. Sit down, he said again. We'll have show and tell shortly. I looked at the clock. How many minutes is shortly? I asked. Is it 1 minute or 8 minutes or 11 minutes on account of, if it's 1 minute, I can wait probably, but 11 minutes would be out of the question. Mr. Scary walked back to my desk. He sat me in my chair. I glanced at him. All I'm looking for is a rough estimate, I said. Just then my neighbor, named May, leaned across the aisle, and she did shh in my face. I quick wiped my cheek. Ew, I hollered, ew, because May got spittle on me. That's why. And spittle is grown-up word for spit-ooey. I zoomed to the back of the room, and I climbed on the stool to reach the faucet. But Mr. Scary beat me to it. He wet a paper towel and wiped my face. Thank you, I said. I needed that. Mr. Scary rolled his eyes. You're being very rambunctious this morning, aren't you, Junie B. Jones, he said. I scratched my head at that vocabulary. Okay, you lost me on that one, I said. Rambunctious, he repeated. Rambunctious means... May's voice interrupted. Bad, she called out. Pernicious means bad. Junie Jones, you're being bad this morning. Bad. I turned to look at her. Her chair was spun around to face the back of the room. She was watching me like an audience. Mr. Scary ran his fingers through his tired hair. Then he went back to May's desk, and he turned her back in the right direction. Teachers spend a lot of time adjusting people. After he came back, he bent down next to me, and he made his voice more private. Junie B, I know you're excited, he whispered. Your mother called me on the phone last night, and she told me about your vacation next week. I threw my arms real thrilled, and I flinged myself way high in the air. Mr. Scary, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, I said. Mr. Scary grabbed my arms and he kept me from flinging. Okay, see, this is the wild behavior I'm talking about, he said. I really need you to stay calm until show and tell. Junie B, can you do that for me, please? I thought for a second. Then I shrugged my shoulders. Yeah, only I actually don't know if I can do that because I'm already trying to be calm. And this is how I'm turning out. My teacher tapped on his chin. Maybe we could make a deal, he said. How about this? If you stay quiet and calm until show and tell, I'll let you go first. How about that? I bounced up and down at that exciting idea. That sounds like a deal. D-E-E-L, I said. You mean D-E-A-L, said Mr. Scary. Deal is spelled with an A, Junie B. Whatever, I said. After that, I twirled real fast in a happy circle, and I accidentally spun myself onto the ground. On my way down, I knocked over the trash can and the sing stool. All of room 1 turned and looked at me. I sat up and waved my finger. Do not be alarmed, people. I'm perfectly okay, I said. After that, I stood up. I dusted myself off, and I went back to my seat, and I looked at the clock again. No minutes had passed, hardly at all. I put my head down, and I did a groan. Time is as slow as a turtle. She is so excited about this trip. I wonder where they're going. Do you think she's going to make it calm and not rambunctious until show and tell so she can be first? Find out in chapter 2. This Junie B, she's up to more adventures.